Welcome to Lesson 6, Delegate. Here I'm going to show you how to take back hours of your time by delegating tasks to others. Now we all know that money can't buy happiness, right? Well, not so fast. Researchers use the term time famine to describe the condition of having more tasks than time. When we're caught up in the hustle fallacy, our list always outruns our time. There's just no way to keep up. And as we've already seen, that has a negative impact on our productivity and our well-being. A team of researchers at Harvard Business School did a study to address the problem. They found a magic bullet for overcoming time famine and improving well-being. What was it? Simple. Buy more time. Wait a minute. How's that possible? Here's how. After you've eliminated and automated as many tasks as you can, you have a shorter list of tasks to be done. But some of them will still be outside your desire zone. Somebody has to do them. But here's the question you need to ask. Does that someone have to be you? Often, the answer is no. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy back your time by offloading stressful tasks. And that amounts to the same thing. I know you may have tried this before and failed, but if you refuse to push through that experience and learn to delegate the right way, you're basically abandoning all hope of finding freedom. When you learn this simple method of delegation, you'll finally be free from the drudgery zone. You'll regain control over your schedule so that you can focus on the high-leverage tasks in your desire zone. Let's pause here for a minute. I want to encourage those of you who are really intimidated by the idea of delegation. Believe me, I know it can be difficult for a lot of reasons. For one thing, you may be cursed with just enough talent to be halfway decent at every job in your organization. Now, I say cursed because it's not a compliment. Would you ever knowingly hire someone who is only halfway decent? Most of us realize that delegating is the smart thing to do, but many people think it's a pie-in-the-sky idea that isn't practical for them. You might be thinking, I have too much responsibility, or I can't trust someone else to get this done. Believe me, I've said that plenty of times, but it simply isn't true. The responsibility for outcomes may fall on you, but you can usually get help with the execution. You might also be thinking it's just faster to do it yourself. Again, no. Delegation requires you to slow down long enough to get a new person up to speed. But in the long run, it frees up time for your desire zone. It's like buying back your own time. Some of us refuse to delegate because we think we can't afford it. We blame a lack of resources. But as high achievers, our goals are always going to outstrip our budgets. The main resource you need is creativity, not money. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that might be part-time help, or a virtual assistant, or an online freelance service. The hours you spend on desire zone tasks will always be more profitable than the time you're wasting anywhere else. Delegation pays for itself, and then some. For now, don't fixate on the resources. You need to get clear on the what before the how. The most depressing excuse for not delegating is this: I've tried delegation and it just doesn't work. Well, look, if everybody tried something once or twice and gave up, there'd be no art, no music, no technology, no medicine, nothing. All good things are the result of trial and error. Don't let one or two failures keep you from a major productivity solution. Now, I know it's tough to let go of tasks that you've probably been doing for a long time, but if you want your time back, that's exactly what you have to do. Believe me, it's possible. In this lesson, we'll unpack the secrets of master delegators. You'll learn about the delegation hierarchy, the delegation process, and the 5 levels of delegation. Believe me, you can do this. That's true even if you're a solopreneur or have no one reporting to you. I'll show you how. As a reminder, you'll need the course workbook for this lesson. If you don't have it with you, download it now from the sidebar on your right. Let's start with the delegation hierarchy. This will give you a clear picture of which activities deserve your time and energy and which don't. To find the critical activities only you can or should be doing, filter your remaining tasks through the Freedom Compass. Review each of the 4 zones in reverse order and you'll see exactly which tasks need to be delegated. You'll also see how urgent it is to find a solution. Let's start with the task you probably hate the most. Priority 1 in the delegation hierarchy is the drudgery zone. These are the tasks for which you have no passion and no proficiency. Hopefully, you've eliminated or automated most of them already. Any remaining tasks are prime candidates for delegation. Because these tasks drain you the most, it's important to hand them off as fast as you can. Don't feel guilty about handing off your most hated chores. Just because you hate doing something doesn't mean everyone else does. In fact, someone else's desire zone could contain all the tasks in your drudgery zone. Take housework, for example. You might dislike cleaning the house and folding laundry, but those things are at the top of some people's list. Same with accounting, or design, or writing, or anything else. I introduced my activation workshop client Matt in lesson 1. His professional and personal life was transformed when he stopped asking, can I do this job faster, easier, and cheaper? And he started asking, should I do this job at all? Let's listen.
I would usually think that, well, I just need to do it because I don't, why do I want to hand it off if I don't enjoy doing it? But then finding out that my desire zone isn't someone else's desire zone. So when I'm withholding that, I'm actually keeping people from doing something they enjoy doing.
By handing off your drudgery zone tasks to someone who loves doing them, you free up time to focus on what matters to you and what only you can do. And being free of the drudgery will give you an energy boost. You'll be much more productive. Priority 2 in the delegation hierarchy is the disinterest zone. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should do it. Continuing to do the things that you're not passionate about sucks energy away from the things you really want to do. For example, I know how to do the basic accounting for my business. I did it on my own for years, but I hated it. I kept putting it off. By hiring a CFO who is passionate about crunching numbers, I freed up a new block of time for my desire zone. That's always the goal. So if you're bored with a task that hasn't been eliminated or automated, even if you're good at it, delegate it. This isn't as urgent as drudgery zone work, but don't put it off too long. All that boredom will eventually lead to burnout. Priority 3 for delegation is the distraction zone. This one can be a little tricky. It's harder to delegate these tasks because you enjoy them. But you don't want to waste your energy doing subpar work, especially when someone else could do it better. For example, I enjoy playing around with web design, but my skills aren't nearly enough to run my business's website. If I tried to manage our website myself, just because it was fun, I'd waste a huge amount of time, and the website would probably be a mess. Delegating from this zone may sting a bit, but it's time to ask the hard question. Is it worth parking this task in my development zone to see if I can become more proficient? If the answer is no, delegate it as soon as possible. Priority 4 in delegating is the desire zone. Once you've eliminated, automated, and delegated everything you possibly can from the other zones, you'll find that you have a lot more free time. It won't happen overnight, but after a while, you'll be spending most of your time in the desire zone activities. There's only one reason to delegate something in this zone. That's when you have more desire zone tasks than you can handle. Believe it or not, it's possible to be completely within your desire zone and still work yourself to death. If you get to this point, you'll need to examine every task carefully. You want to find out where your greatest passion and your greatest proficiency are. This could lead you to some hard choices. You may discover that you need to delegate some things that you really love to do, or you find ways to delegate parts of these tasks so that you focus only on the stages of the work that really excite you. Now that you have a hierarchy for delegating, let's talk about the process of delegation. Even though delegation is an essential part of leadership, I've seen it fail time and time again. Many leaders assume that they know how to delegate, but when they try to hand off a project or a task, everything falls apart. This generally leaves them less enthused about trying it again. And as a result, they hoard responsibilities that should be given away. So they're left with an impossible to-do list and no one to help get it done. Sound familiar? Many people think delegation is simply a matter of handing someone a task, then sitting back to wait. They offer no real instructions, but somehow expect the person to meet or even exceed their expectations. That rarely works. Delegation is a process, and it requires an investment of time. The goal is to develop passionate, proficient team members you can trust with complex or delicate tasks. That happens only when you walk them through the 7-step process I'm about to show you. This will build the trust and the skill they need to perform at a high level. When they do, you'll multiply your effectiveness. You'll also gain back dozens of hours to invest in your desire zone. So here's how the process works. First, decide what to delegate. To do this, use the delegation hierarchy and start with priority 1, your drudgery zone. Then move through each zone in order of priority. Now this may sound obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people skip straight to whatever task seems most urgent at the time. Second, select the appropriate person. You aren't the only person who works best in the desire zone. Everyone else needs to stay in that zone too. So when you offload a task, try to find someone who has passion and proficiency in that area. For example, if you're handing over the reins of your social media accounts, don't pick someone who thinks Twitter is dumb or doesn't have an Instagram account. They wouldn't know how to maximize your social media outreach, and they wouldn't enjoy trying. To become a master delegator, you've got to have the patience to match the task to the person. And when you do, you'll set yourself up for unbelievable success. Third, communicate the workflow. This is where all the work you did in Lesson 5, documenting workflows, really pays off. You can simply hand off the workflow, show the person how to use it, and let the system take over. That said, don't worry if you don't have a workflow prepared. Some jobs don't lend themselves to that, and others may be outside your expertise, so you can't create a solid workflow. In those cases, talk through the outcome you'd like to see. Just be sure to clearly communicate the results you're after. Fourth, provide the necessary resources. This could mean providing physical resources like a key or a file or a computer. It can mean communicating intellectual resources like login information or electronic files. You might have to communicate your delegation plan to your team so that others can provide the resources too. Think through every step of the process and make sure that you give the person the tools they need to win. Fifth, specify the delegation level. This goes beyond step-by-step instructions and includes being clear about what level of authority you're giving them. I'll come back to that concept in just a moment. But for now, just be aware that any misalignment of expectations can create disaster. Sixth, give them room to operate. This is where delegation breaks down for a surprising number of people. Now, it should be obvious that delegation and micromanaging don't mix, but it can be really hard to step back and let someone else take over your work. This is where micromanagers are born. If you selected a competent team member and prepared them for the task, they'll be able to pull it off. Take your hands off and let them run with it. Seventh, check in and provide feedback as needed. While you don't want to micromanage, you don't want to be an absentee either. Delegation doesn't mean abdication. The outcome is still your responsibility, even if you outsource the work. Check in periodically to be sure things meet your expectations and that the person has the resources they need. Give your team members the dignity of doing the job you hired them to do. Just keep an eye on them until you're sure they have it under control. Once you've walked through these 7 steps, you should expect a stream of high-quality work. As you get better and better at this, you'll see your energy and productivity explode. Now let's talk about the 5 levels of delegation. It's critical that both you and the other person understand what level of authority you're giving them. If you don't, you'll be constantly taken off guard by underachievers who do too little and overachievers who do too much. And your job is to tell them exactly how much rope you're giving them. You do this with the 5 delegation levels. Level 1, do as I say. In level 1 delegation, you want the person to do exactly what you've asked them to do. No more, no less. In this situation, you would say something like, here's what I need you to do. Do not deviate from my instructions. I've already researched the options and determined what I want done. Now, the phrasing is important here. You want the person to clearly understand they have no authority in this situation. You've told them exactly what you want them to do. Their only job is to do it. This level is perfect for new hires, entry-level people, contractors, or virtual assistants. Level 2, research the topic. In a level 2 delegation, you want the person to research a topic and report back to you. That's it. You might delegate by saying, here's what I need you to do. I want you to research the topic and report back with your findings. We'll discuss it, I'll make a decision, and then I'll tell you what I want you to do. Again, each phrase matters. Be clear the person has the freedom to find new information, but not to take action. This is a great level to use anytime you're not ready to make a decision and need someone to gather information for you. Once the data is in, you can probably decide quickly. Level 3, make a recommendation. Starting with level 3, you're giving the person more room to participate in the problem-solving process, but you still reserve the final decision for yourself. Here you'd say something like this. Here's what I need you to do. Research the topic, outline the options, and then make a recommendation. Give me the pros and cons of each option, but tell me what you think we should do. If I agree with your decision, I'll authorize you to move forward. Again, be very clear about the outcome you want. In this case, it's information plus a recommendation, but there's still no authority to make a decision. Now, this is a great option for delegating to leaders you're mentoring. It gives you a low-risk way to judge their decision-making skills. This is a level where you start to outsource decision-making. And at this stage, you can make a well-informed decision on a complex topic in one simple meeting. Level 4, tell me what you did. At level 4, you want the person to evaluate the options, make a decision on their own, execute the decision, and then give you an update after the fact. You would say something like this. Here's what I need you to do. Make the best decision you can, take action, then tell me what you did. Sometimes you might want to add, keep me apprised of your progress. Now you're close to cloning yourself. The process should be getting exciting. This is a great level to use with growing leaders because it empowers them with decision-making experience and gives you plenty of opportunities to evaluate their progress. It's good for assignments that aren't mission critical or where you don't have a strong preference. Level 5, it's in your hands. At level 5, you effectively hand the entire project to someone else. You make no other decision in this matter. You say something like this. Here's what I need you to do. Make whatever decision you think is best. No need to report back or even tell me what you did. Now you've cloned yourself. This is where you really start to see the benefits of delegation. Level 5 is perfect for when you have complete confidence in the person or if you really don't care about how it's resolved. Examples of level 5 delegation might be asking your marketing director to decide on a budget for a product launch or asking your facilities director to replace the furniture in the break room. Using the 5 delegation levels can drastically reduce your personal workload and your stress. It also gives your team members a great opportunity to up their game. I suggest implementing this process by walking your entire team through the 5 levels. Then explain how you're going to approach delegation from then on. Give them the big picture and maybe even incorporate the levels by name into your team vocabulary. All of this will clarify responsibilities so everyone knows exactly what is being asked of them. Here's a final word of advice. As I said earlier, people often don't delegate because they think it's faster or easier to do the job themselves. You know what? They're right. It is easier to do a single task one time than it is to teach someone how to do the task. But here's the thing. Most tasks are not one-time occasions. There are things that pop up often, pulling you away from more important work every time. Delegation does take more time on the front end, but it saves you an enormous amount of time after that, and you'll probably get a better result. Just because you can wear all the hats in the business doesn't mean they all fit. Remember, time is fixed, but you can buy more of it. You'll never be fully free to focus on your top priorities until you learn how and why to delegate. And when you do, you'll see amazing gains at work and in life. So let's review. In this lesson, we've learned about the delegation hierarchy, which offloads tasks from the 4 zones of your freedom compass in reverse order: the drudgery zone, the disinterest zone, the distraction zone, and desire zone last. We've also learned the 7 steps of the delegation process: decide to delegate, designate the appropriate person, communicate the workflow, provide the necessary resources, specify the delegation level, give room to operate, and then check in and provide feedback as needed. Finally, we learned the 5 levels of delegation. Level 1, do exactly as I say. Level 2, research the topic. Level 3, make a recommendation. Level 4, tell me what you did. And level 5, it's in your hands. Module 1 in Free to Focus is to stop. And in the first 3 lessons, you created a vision for what your life could look like. Module 2 is cut. And in the past 3 lessons, you've learned to eliminate, automate, and delegate everything outside your desire zone. So before we move on to Module 3, let's return to your task filter worksheet. By now, you've listed and categorized your daily tasks and marked those to eliminate and automate. Now, it's time to delegate. You may not be ready to outsource every remaining task, but you can get a vision for where you're headed. Delegation doesn't always come easily, and that's why I developed a tool to help navigate the 5 levels of delegation. It's called the Project Vision Caster, and it's found in your course workbook, and you can also download it from the sidebar to your right. Right now, identify at least one task you will delegate. Use the Project Vision Caster to put your vision on paper so your team can see it clearly and execute it with excellence. Then select the person you'll delegate to and hand off the project. If delegation makes you nervous, don't sweat it. Think of this as a learning experience for you and your team member. When you're done with that, we're going to move on to Module 3, Act. That's where you'll flip the switch on your new productivity machine and get it running. This will free you up to finally focus on your top goals. Now, this is the fun part, so knock out this lesson's exercises and get ready for the final push. I'll see you in Lesson 7.